Welcome to Toni Unleashed, the podcast, where I unleash the truth about all things pets. My research and anecdotal evidence, paired with expert interviews, will help your pet thrive. I'm here to answer questions, share insights, and spread awareness about what's really going on in the world of pets. I'm Toni Unleashed with 25 years of experience in the pet space. Welcome to the show. Hi, and welcome to Toni Unleashed. And I am thrilled today to have Amanda from Cali Cats Rescue. Welcome, Amanda.
Hi.
Hey. So, Cali Cats, Amanda reached out to me a while back, and she's got a really great story of how her rescue journey started and where Cali Cats began. So, Amanda, tell me about the story of how you got really involved with saving animals in big old
So
California, PA.
yeah, right. So I started with Bridgestone Animal Rescue, which is a strictly dog rescue. So I fostered for them for quite a few years. I'm still very close with them. I occasionally still foster dogs for them because, when you go in to take cats, sometimes there's dogs. So, I'm an animal person, not just a cat or dog person. I probably love both species equally. I have one of each. I also So I fostered for them for a while, and before that, I would do some transports, just got my feet wet a little bit. Then I fostered for quite a while, and I had a couple puppies at home and was coming home and found three kittens on the side of the road about a block up from my house. And I actually thought it was just a raccoon. I owned two cats at the time, older cats that, had all their vetting done at the vet and were fixed when I got them. So I didn't know a ton about cats, probably more about dogs at that point. So I found these three little kittens, which were not a raccoon. Their eyes were matted shut and, they had lots of fleas, and I didn't know what to do with them, so I put them in my sweatshirt pocket and drove them home and put them in a box in my garage. And when I think back on this story, I think now, like, how many people end up in that situation? And I did exactly what the public does to me now. The two people I knew that rescued cats, I blew their phones up, like panicking. And now when people do that to me, I'm like, oh my gosh, they'll be fine. Hold on. And then I try to think back when I was in that situation. I thought, oh my goodness, this is like life or death in 5 minutes. And so I somebody reached back out and said, if you bottle feed those kittens, they were about 3 weeks old, best guess she could give me over the phone. She told me how to clean them up, clean their eyes, get them looking better, bathe them with Dawn, and if I could keep them away from my pets, of course, for that night, and if I could bottle feed them, what to buy, they could get them a foster, but they had to be eating on their own. So, that was, and I already had foster dogs, so it was a little bit like scary, but also what was I going to do with them? I mean, there was no other real option. So I bottle fed them and got them meds from the rescue and cleaned them all up, and they ended up being so healthy and so cute and so fluffy. And I was so, I don't know, I guess, patted myself on the back a little bit, but also so happy that they went from dying on the side of the road to basically a success, with help from me. And I was, thinking like, oh, this was so great. So in the meantime, my neighbor at the time said, oh, the lady whose kittens you took from her yard are asking where they went, who has them. So on my way to deliver them to the rescue now, about 3.5, 4 weeks later, I stopped by her house, knocked on the door with them in a carrier to show her how good they looked. And she was in her late 60s probably, and let me know that she fed 17 outside cats, none of whom were fixed, and that the neighbor boy was abusing kittens at the time. Some were coming back with broken legs, some with cigarette burns on them, and it was always kittens because the adults, were feral and could get away, and he wasn't going to grab them. So I ended up that summer, I started and I pulled 33 kittens out of her yard that summer and got other rescues to take them. I had to hold a few here and there for a couple days a week, but I did what I had to, and I ended up that summer being able to fix at least 10 of those 17 cats. And then I went back for the rest, and that was all like done personally with my own money, of course. And then it just snowballed, honestly. Like somebody in town heard I was trapping cats and asked if I would help them.
Wow.
She had 10 cats and so on and so forth. And, here we are 6 years later. So,
Wow.
yeah.
So that's been the 6 year journey. I mean, do you have a ballpark of how many cats you think you've?
Well, last year our rescue did, I think last year the numbers were close to 800, how many we fixed, and then close to 500, how many we adopted out. The other numbers, of course, would have been returned and, trap neuter returns. And I think the year before it was just a little bit less. And that's, once I got help. So I would say, if we averaged,
Mhm.
honestly, because I didn't do that many in the beginning. If you averaged over the 6 years, if I really went back, I could count probably. But I would guess, let's see, six times five, three, probably close to maybe like 2,000-ish, 2,500, give or
Wow.
take, like over 6 years, and that is such a
Huge.
small, I mean, it is huge, but it's also such a small percentage in compared to how many cats are actually out there needing help. Like when you look at the numbers, I think right now in the rescue, we have close to 40 kittens under the age of 5 weeks. That happened in about 8 days. We went from barely having any kittens 2 weeks ago to almost 50 now.
Wow. So I think it's important to know rural areas
Hmm.
are still, full of strays, right?
Oh
Full of
my.
feral
So the
cats.
the thing is, a lot of our donors, and not all, of course, but of a lot of our donors and our other three board members all live in Bethel Park, Peters Township, McMurray area, and then I run the rescue, started the rescue here, and I live in Brownsville, right outside of California now. And most of our cats come from here, where I'm at. I mean,
Yeah.
between, the Mon Valley, Fayette County, Uniontown, and it is a lot of farmland, and a lot more country than the Allegheny County areas. So, they have a lot more accessibility there in the city to clinics and things like that. I mean, we have Fix Your Cat in Washington, PA, and the next closest one for us is honestly Greensburg. So, you're 30 minutes out, no matter, and that's if you're in California. I mean, if you're in, gosh, like Carmichael's or, Connellsville, I mean, you're talking a 50-minute drive to get a cat fixed. And some people just realistically can't do that.
Wow. So what year did you start the 501(c)(3)?
So I did it independently for a few years and then, started looking at, because people started helping and donating and I was doing it independently. And at that point you had to show, like I would show all the cats that got fixed that week, their bill at Fix Your Cat, the things that I purchased for home, so on and so forth. And then after those couple years, and I started to gain some help and figured, it was time to probably do this the right way. So I started researching the paperwork and I ended up applying and doing everything and just learning it on my own. So I didn't have any real help with it. And I think we got that in February. This will be 25. We got that in end of February of 2022.
Okay. And you work full time?
Yes, I do work full time. Yeah, but from home. And it's like I'm pretty, limited to like what I can have to do for work. So
Okay. Okay. Because I mean, you doing it on your own, it's a lot, right?
yeah, in the beginning, but honestly, like now in the last 3.5 years, 4 years almost, I have wonderful, wonderful help, and the brick and mortar, which is new, it hasn't even really
Yeah.
opened officially yet, also will help bring more help because, we've had people reach out over the last couple of years and say, we want to volunteer. What can we do? We can't foster, but what can we do? Well, I mean, they're not going to come scoop litter at my house. So,
Yeah.
so like, what can you ask them to do? There's nowhere for them to help and sit and do paperwork, like, because
Yes.
I mean, they're going to sit in my kitchen. And yes, I have had people come do that. A lady that now does our website and everything, like, that's where she learned sitting in my kitchen. But it's just easier to have help. Like, the Boy Scouts want to build us shelters. So, like, then we have to ask my dad for his garage. Well, now we have a garage, so you just get a lot more noticed. You get a lot more people that are like, hey, we live 10 minutes. We can stop and, feed one night a week. And then eventually the goal is for those volunteers to slowly turn to fosters once they're really in the thick of it and see what's really needed. Because one thing that we absolutely pride ourselves on at our rescue is we are strictly mainly foster based. I mean, we've been strictly foster based. So our building is really going to be more like an education, like a craft center, an education and adoption center. So we'll probably house about 10 to 12 cats there, fully vetted cats in a community room. And then we'll do some intake, or if we have to hold trapped cats, or if they need a place to sit to wait for a foster for overnight or something, we'll have this little space for that. But generally, we want to remain mostly foster based because I feel I've always been big on like cats in cages longer than a week or two. And now if they're sick or injured, totally different story. However, if it's longer than a week or two and they're living in a cage, it's just not something that I love. And I get why it has to be done. I'm not saying that I don't understand it or to agree with it or anything like that. I just want to continue doing it the way we do it because it is something that I really care about. So everybody rescues differently, and we need everybody to do it in every way, shape, or form because there's too many cats. But in the grand scheme of things, that's just something we like to pride ourselves on.
So maybe explain, because some listeners might not understand what a community room is, like how the cats are really living in your new shelter once
Okay, so our shelter, it's 1,300 square feet. The community room probably makes up about a third of that. So it will have like a cat playground, which are climbing things and like bubbles and bridges on one wall. We also had a really nice gentleman, Max Gonzalez. He painted a beautiful mural for us in there. It's amazing. It's like a gypsy with a fortune teller ball with a little cat in it, like telling you in your future you're going to get a cat. With a lot of other really cool things. He did a great job. On top of that, there's cat trees, there's feeding stations, with 12 cats. We are aiming to have 4 litter boxes. Some will be underneath, some will be automatic, whatever we can have. And they'll be cleaned every day by volunteers. There's a couch in there. There's 2 chairs. There's a big window with some perches. So it would be 10 to 12 youngish, fully vetted, healthy, tested cats that would live there. Moms and babies, or just babies under 12 weeks in general. Their immune systems are weaker. So the germs from people in and out and cats in and out, not a great environment for them if it's not necessary. Same with senior cats, just like people, babies, seniors, their immune systems are too weak for an environment like that if you can avoid it. And I expect to be put into situations once we have it, like I know many rescues are, where you don't have fosters, but you have this room open at your building and there's a mom and babies next to the highway. And nobody else can take them. So you think like, well, we have this room, and so I'm hoping maybe to be able to utilize those things a little bit until we can get them in a foster home. But like, I don't want that to really be permanent. So, I mean, that's kind of the plan. And that's what a community room is. The community room would be like where people would get to come in and they could spend time there and, just sit with the cats. And especially when you do young adult cats, honestly, that is the age that is hardest to adopt out. Not the seniors, not the kittens. There are people that love senior cats and there are people that love kittens. And then you're in between your 2-3-year-olds or I'd say the toughest group to adopt out.
So that community room and keeping cats in a community room is important for their mental well-being too, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So, you have to make sure they're friendly, obviously, with other cats and everybody gets along. We will put a small cage in there, like a 3-tier cage that could hold a litter box on the bottom and have a couple shelves because any new cats will have to be in there for probably 3 days.
Yeah.
And still they're like, meeting at the door, the other cats that have already been acclimated to that room and rubbing and there's no more hissing at the door and things like that. And then of course, when they're released, that whole first day, second day, third day, someone will need to be there with them. And then when we leave, they would probably go back in their cage. And we'd probably do that for a week or so too,
Yeah.
depending on the cat. Yes, but cats really do. So cats are not pack animals by nature. However, cats really, really enjoy the company of other cats.
Sure.
Most of them, let's say most of them. There are definitely some cats that do not enjoy the company of other cats.
Yeah. And not being confined to a cage, even if it's, like the condo type cage, it's
Yep.
still just it's enrichment for them. It's more
Oh,
of
yeah.
closer to their natural, way of life.
Habitat. Yeah. And that's like one of the goals of a community room, to make them feel more comfortable too. And that's always our first goal is the cats and, their well-being.
Yep.
So,
Yep. Enrichment is important. Trying to keep
yeah.
them as close to their natural environment as possible is important.
Mm,
I agree. Same with dogs. And the quicker we get them out of those situations,
absolutely.
the better off they are.
Yeah, I mean, cats, not as many, but cats do suffer sometimes, just like dogs do. Like, I've probably only had a handful myself that actually suffer from like cage rage, They're very
Yes.
nice cats and they go into these cages, and 4 days later, you can't touch them anymore. They're so angry. You put your hands in, they're swatting, growling, and you let them out, and 2 days later, they're back to like rubbing on you, and what's unfortunate in that situation is sometimes, when you trap a cat, it could be a very friendly cat and you don't know. Well, in that trap, sometimes they appear very angry. They're scared, they're hissy, they're nervous, they're cornered, they can't run away. And sometimes you get a friendly cat and then, you don't even really know that it's friendly. I mean, I've had it happen a few times and you go to return them and open the trap and they like walk out and fall over, walk out and start rubbing on you. And, it's a totally different animal. So, yes,
Yeah.
the enrichment and, not being in a cage for a long time, I think is important.
Yeah. So this went on for so many years, and then you realized it was time for a physical location.
Yeah. So one problem became storage, right? We had a little storage unit, but thank goodness for the great public who continued to send us, a lot of stuff. But it kind of took over mine and our VP Aaron's homes, to say the least. It, really started taking over our space, and we were paying for storage. And of course, storage is minimal compared to rent of a building. However, even that money didn't get us really anywhere, at least with
Yeah.
the rent, like we got so much more for what we're paying now. Plus, we get to store things there. Plus, it will help us have our cats seen more regularly. That's one of the biggest things. So, we could do intakes and we could do all those things, and we could put pictures on Facebook and Pet Finder and our website, and hold an event once a month or once every other month. But the in-betweens are where like, okay, I've had
Yeah.
this for 5 weeks, and not every foster is phenomenal at taking pictures, and they know who they are. And we all can't be good at everything. So they are not great at taking photos. And photos without a building and without events are what sell your cats, right? So, and I don't mean sell, I
Mhm.
mean, but
I
that
do.
is what you see
Market them.
on the
You have to
like
market them.
right, that's your first thing. So if
Yep.
the head's blurry or like cut off, or they look really angry, but they're a very sweet cat, and like everybody's just gonna scroll by.
Yeah.
And so it's very important that, so we thought, if we have some open hours, we have this community room, and we're going to try to do open hours 2 nights a week. Those haven't been set in stone yet, for a couple hours, which we will also tell our fosters on those nights. Hey, if you would like to bring your cat, like, I don't know if one person would come or 10, but if you want to come up and hang out for an hour or two with your cat, we'll have like a 3-tier cage that they can hang out in for an hour or two in our main office. We won't even put a cat that's just going to be there that short a time near the community
Right.
room. It's too stressful for
Right.
animals. So, hopefully that might help. Somebody pops in
Yeah.
and says, "Oh, hey, look at this cute cat," that they'd have never seen otherwise. So,
Right. Right. So, and when's the grand opening?
so the grand opening right now is set for May 18th. We'll be announcing that next week, the exact date, but that's what we're aiming for. we have an event this Saturday. So the goal was to kind of get through that and then focus more on what's coming next and exactly when we want to do that. We're about 90% in the building to where we want to be. Like the goal was to be able to start actually placing cats in there probably like the first week of May, getting them comfortable before our grand opening too. So we need to see how that goes. We would like to at least give them 2 weeks in there, before the grand opening. And so the event we have this Saturday is a flash tattoo event. We're partnering with Skin Deep. It's on Route 51 in West Mifflin. They are doing flash tattoos for us, and we'll have adoptable cats there and a basket raffle and 50-50, and a lovely tarot reader who is volunteering her time and anything
Cool.
she makes back to us for 2 hours during the event. So, we'll have some beverages and snacks for free if you come sign up. So we have a couple cool things planned for that. So, and that's from 11 to 8.
Awesome. So what is your website?
It's very simple. It is www.calicatsrescue.com.
Okay.
So the thing is, though, I will mention,
Yeah.
so there are two Cali Cat Rescues. So Cali
Oh,
Cats Animal Rescue is in the state of
okay.
California, near Clovis, California. Cali Cats Rescue is us. So I actually have an email. If you go to our email on our website, you will get a response email that says, "Hi, we are located in Pennsylvania, blah, 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 blah." Because we get emails all the time. "I adopted Tofu from you and we need her records." And I'm like, we don't have anyone named Tofu.
Oh no.
And and now I've learned if their phone number says 559, they're from there. So, or "We'd love to foster. We're near Clovis, California." I'm like,
Oh my gosh.
an urgent situation with 3 kittens. Oh my, where are you located? Clovis, California. So, I figured it would be best. And I don't know, like, sometimes there's no real way to know. I mean, we know that we've had a few people send donations to them also.
Oh
I'm
boy.
sure it has went the other way as well. And sometimes you don't even know. Like, Lisa Smith sends us a donation that just says "for the cats," well, on PayPal, which doesn't show me Lisa's address and all, to put everything together. So I don't know, So when I did our Venmo, actually, I did it as Cali Cats Rescue of PA. But somebody, of course, spammed it
Oh
and
no.
made their own Venmo that's Cali Cat Rescues of PA hyphen.
Oh no.
That little hyphen is there, and nobody notices that when they're typing it in.
Oh.
They stole our picture and everything. So, but I had a couple of people come back and be like, "Is this you?" So I mean, I put an announcement out, and that's the best we can really do. Prior to that, I used my personal Venmo before we started, like the Cali Cats Venmo. Not personal, but it was in my name. And
Sure.
I'm half thinking, like, do I just go back to that? Because we never had that problem when it was personal. Because I think people like look these public charities up and then try to copy them,
Yes.
So
Yeah.
it's
Oh
just,
my gosh.
yeah,
That's terrible.
yeah,
Yeah. And I have listeners nationwide, so it's important to stress that Amanda, there is a California, Pennsylvania,
yes,
which is which is where Amanda originally started the rescue. So, and her rescue is Cali Cats Rescue,
yes.
period.
Period. Not Cali Cats Animal Rescue. Although I'm sure they do great work. I have looked them
Yeah,
up and,
yeah,
they seem to do fabulous work. They do dogs and cats there. We strictly do cats, of course, unless I jump in for a dog, but they do not go through our rescue.
yeah. Okay. So, social media, tell me all the places you are.
So we are on Instagram, we are on Facebook, we have a Venmo, we have a PayPal. So we are currently, because now that we have a brick and mortar, looking for possibly like a young, I guess tech savvy person that would like to do a TikTok for us or maybe do more on our Instagram. We kind of just started on Facebook. It was easiest years ago and it kind of just stuck there. We do definitely do stuff on Instagram, but also, again, being foster based when you're separated like that. I mean, Aaron and I, who is our VP right now, run both the Facebook and Instagram pages together. So we either have to hound our poor fosters for videos and pictures to upload stuff, which also takes our time, and there's 1,000 other things to do, or we just keep uploading our foster cats. And like, people, okay, that's great, but where are your other 60 cats that you have in the rescue?
Yeah.
So it's kind of difficult. So when we have the building and, I can pop in and take a video of this cat and somebody brings their foster cat there, and it'll be much easier to maybe do a YouTube channel and do a TikTok. And, I thought maybe a high school student, it would be a great way to get some service hours if a high school student would want to like run our TikTok, of course, with their parents, permission.
Yeah. Yeah. And ideally voluntarily, right? On a
Correct.
voluntary,
Mhm.
yeah, just to help out and
Yeah.
do a good thing.
Yeah. These videos, and I mean, I give you a ton of credit too. These take work and these take time on
Yeah.
top of everything else. I mean, it might take me 50 minutes to make a 40-second reel if I wanted to look good. And sometimes I don't have 50 minutes. Honestly, like I just don't in a whole day. So,
It's such a rabbit hole, and then it's
yeah.
sometimes it's so frustrating.
Yep.
And
And then people don't like watch it if it's not good.
right,
They
right,
scroll right by and you've put time into it.
right.
And so you're like, okay, well, and then it's 8 more days before you do it again. And if you're only doing it that often, it's like almost not worth it.
Yeah, yeah. No, I totally get it.
Yep.
So, okay, grand opening of the Bethel Park is currently scheduled for May 18th.
Yeah, just follow our page. We'll definitely be updating there. Our events are also always listed on our website.
Okay. And I'll put everything in the show notes for the episode. And is there anything we missed, do you think, Amanda?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think we got everything, maybe, I think one thing that I do want to mention is we will be holding educational classes at the building,
Great.
night a month, at least, maybe two if they go well. And we're going to do things like from as broad as, what to do if you find baby kittens, how to help them for a few days if no one can take them. If you live in an area where there are outdoor cats, maybe some resources we can give you, and also maybe some things you just want to keep on hand just in case you run into a kitten or, a friendly cat. I mean, simple things as easy as a large carrier and, 2 bowls and 2 cans of cat food. Like,
Yeah.
just little things where we'll talk about trapping, how to trap, like who to call. We will talk about we have someone that was willing to come in and do a tube feeding course for us. And that will of course be, for people that foster, and you don't even have to foster with Cali Cats. Like we want anybody to be able to save a kitten if they need to learn. And if someone from For All Kitties, for example, wants to learn to tube feed, like we would absolutely welcome anyone into our classes. It won't
That's
just be
great.
for our fosters. And eventually we hope to maybe be able to have even like some guest speakers come and, talk at these things if it all works out the way I'd like it to.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. And because that's changing the course of history, the more we
Correct.
educate,
Yeah. And
that
the education is so lacking. And I think that's 50% of the problem.
for sure.
Spaying and neutering cats weren't as big as a thing 10, even just 10 years ago. Also like the trap-neuter-return programs, a lot of people still will say, what's trap-neuter-return? What's an ear clip? They don't
Yeah.
have any
Yeah.
idea. So,
Yeah.
I think just educating the public on those things, and people don't know you can get your cats fixed for $65 or where to look. And sometimes there's free clinics in your areas, you have to search those things, but most areas now offer those resources.
Yeah.
And the simplest way is when one cat shows up, fix it. I mean, trapping is not that the first time it is scary. It is like, oh, what's going to happen? But once you do it once, I mean, honestly, it is easy peasy, really. I mean, there's, funny stories. And of course, you run into problems. A cat gets out or, something. A mom goes into labor in a trap. Like, things,
Oh,
that happened to me last year in my car.
oh
I
no.
mean, and you feel so bad, I mean, because what a terrible place, what the stress, like it was awful. I mean, and it's, so you basically have to take her home, cover her, put like a blanket or pad under the trap, cover her and leave her. somewhere dark and calm and quiet, at least for 12 hours, until she's done going through her labor. Because to try to shift her, whether it be to a room or a pen or wherever you want to put her, is a lot to do to a cat in the middle of labor. So, as bad as the trap sounds, it's actually safer and kinder to just leave
Yeah.
her alone. And I'm talking a feral mom. I wouldn't have a friendly cat in a trap anyway. And especially if
Right.
she was pregnant, she would be in a large carrier.
Right.
Oh, but in that situation, it's just it's unfortunate, but we just have to do, everything we can to lower the population. And we get people that oppose and are like, we don't like cats, right? I'm not a cat person. And so people that don't like cats should actually want us around more than the people that do
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
because we are actually here to lower population. We are population control for those cats that pee on your porch and dig in your garbage and
Yeah.
ruin your stuff. I mean, that's like our goal is to make there be, if there's 15 and they get fixed, in 10 years, there might be two. And I
Yeah.
know that is sad. It is a circle of life for these guys. I mean, when these guys are born outside and it's been years and years of them, repopulating and living outside, I mean, they do turn, a little more wild. And
Hmm.
we bring them in and you can try, but as much as you would like to maybe see them be friendly and find a home, not all of them want that. I mean, so if they are in a good condition, they
Hmm.
have a good shelter, they have a good feeder that is going to continue to feed, continue to
Yeah.
provide them a shelter, whether it be on a porch, on a shed, a decent shelter with four walls and a roof, that they can come and go out of. I really don't love city living for that. So I am glad that I do a lot in rural areas. You don't feel so bad when it's a barn they're living in or a shed and they
Sure.
also have 8 acres and 10
Yeah.
cars go by a day.
Yeah.
Yes, I know there's coyotes. Yes, I know there is
Right.
wildlife more in these areas, but I feel like they're more likely to get run over by a car in the city or poisoned than they are to be eaten by a coyote out here.
Right.
So,
Right.
I think it's just important that those guys, and the biggest part of that I do want to mention is like, everybody used to call it trap, neuter, release. So like now it should be called trap-neuter-return. So we have tried to work on using the word return, not release, because
Oh,
they need to be returned to where they came from. Not just released wherever because you don't want them on your property. So it would be like if you went into the hospital and woke up in Houston, Texas.
yeah.
You have no friends, you have no family, you have no
Yeah.
phone, you don't know where to eat, you don't know who to call. Like that's not okay.
Right.
You want them to end up back where they came from. And it's so important. So when the community even asks us for help and we say, yes, we'll trap your cats, we'll help you. How much can you cover? How many cats are there? Can you send some pictures? And that just gives us a gauge. How many are there? How bad do they look? Like, are they super skinny? Are they infested? Do they have wounds? Like, or do these look like great cats that are cared for by somebody outside as best they can be? So, we ask for those things, but one of the biggest things we ask is when they're done being fixed, if they're not adoptable, they have to come back.
Yeah.
Can you provide food and shelter? And some people do not want that. They will say, we don't want these cats here. Like, no, they can't come back. And honestly, we will not even begin trapping until they give us permission to bring the cats back because
That's
where
fair.
are we supposed to put them?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, you can't just go to John's farm at midnight and release.
Right.
It's like that's also very illegal and very wrong of the cats.
Sure.
People think you can do that, like just find a wooded area and let the cat out. One, it's probably not going to survive because it doesn't know where to go. Two, also, that is still someone's property.
Sure.
So you're not allowed to do that.
Yeah.
And if
Yeah.
you ever do need to relocate, you need to have permission from the person that lives there, and they need to keep the cats in a cage for a couple weeks to acclimate them to their feeder, to the other cats, to the area, to the smells, to the sounds before they just let them go. So,
Makes sense.
yeah.
Makes sense that I wouldn't have thought of, but now that you say it, it completely makes sense.
Yeah.
So,
So, I think that is where I'm talking about education, even
yeah.
the simplest things like that, and I think the communities could really thrive from it, especially because now out of every 10 people you talk to, 5 or 6 people have either had a stray show up, their neighbors have left cats, or they have cats in their backyards. So I mean, I think the education is very important.
I agree with you. So, well, thanks for doing all of the
Yeah,
great things and
thank
having
you.
such a positive impact on stray cats and humans and
Oh, well,
all
thank you for that.
everything. So, Cali Cats Rescue.com.
That's it.
.com. And then on social media is Cali Cats. Currently, grand opening is May 18th. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks
And
for
please,
having me.
yeah, absolutely. I was thrilled to have you and glad you reached out. Please, everyone, share this podcast and give us 5-star reviews so that we can continue having great organizations like Amanda on and raising awareness about homeless pets. So it takes a village. Bye for now.